Have you ever felt stuck and not fulfilled with the work that you're doing as a filmmaker? I have been there and made many mistakes myself. I'm going to show you exactly how you can fix these mistakes and make sure you don't go through the same frustrations I did. Can you be a one-man band cinematographer? The short answer is yes, but how far can you actually progress in this career? There are so many limitations associated with being a one-man band. I've talked to so many cinematographers who have been doing projects on their own, who eventually have the mindset that they'll make it if I keep putting out a lot of my own work, where I'm doing every single role. This is great in practice and something I fell into, but is ultimately a pitfall for a lot of cinematographers. It's not about how many projects you do or the amount of roles that you have in a project. It's all about the quality of that work and if it is up to your standards. Here's an example from my own experience. I've been doing this for the last 7 years, and only in the last 2 years, I've seen a massive progression in my own work. So what changed in those last 2 years? I decided to evolve my work with a team. If you're serious about this career or even being a cinematographer, you have to understand how the industry works, and more importantly, understand the fundamentals and skills of being a cinematographer. If you're focused on so many other aspects of production, how are you supposed to level up your own skills as a cinematographer? Don't be afraid to reach out to others in your space, collaborate on projects, and more importantly, collaborate on your own. Maybe you're nervous about asking other people to work with you, and this is something that I struggled with a long time. The one thing that helps me the most in terms of that is getting people excited about your work. And your own perspective of your work is different from everybody else's. You'd be surprised in terms of how many people are excited about collaborating with you. Filmmaking is designed to be a collaborative process. The one-man band mentality will only take you so far until you burn yourself out, which I have done. You're competing with other cinematographers in this industry that have a team. So the way you differentiate yourself is to level up your work with a team. While working with a team is crucial, you won't get far as a cinematographer if you're not staying organized. Organization in cinematography isn't just about keeping your gear organized. It's about time management, effectiveness, and everything that is related to that. And it's the backbone of any successful cinematographer. When I started, especially with projects, I thought I needed to focus most of my energy in the creative and anything that related into my technical skills. But one key thing that I was missing was staying organized. And I didn't realize how much time this would save me in the long run. And here's exactly how I realized that. In one of my projects, I spent a lot of time in the pre-production process, location scouting, shot selection, and just being organized about everything, even client names, phone numbers, emails, everything around that. And when I put that much effort in the pre-production process, the production just went so smoothly. And this saved me a lot of time in the long run. And a big question that you might have is, what if you don't have a lot of this upfront time, and how does that save you time in the long run? And let me tell you, in terms of spending all this time in pre-production, it just gives you a stress-free environment and allows you to think more creatively. If I'm in a production and I'm thinking as I go without a plan, it's going to destroy the project and I'm not going to be happy with it in terms of the long run. If I have everything planned out to a T and I'm organized in terms of every aspect of the production, it's going to turn out a lot better and I'm going to be a lot happier on set, as well as a happy client. And just generally, everything is going to go a lot smoother. And a good place to start is just a simple checklist of your gear, or even just collecting emails in terms of who is going to be on set. I know these may seem like small things, but they're super important. And it doesn't matter the size of project, all the way from a music video that's shot on no budget to a big budget commercial. Here at Tenfold, we love to stay organized, and it's helped us so much in terms of me as a cinematographer, as well as a production company. Mistake number 3, buying more gear gets you work. Now, this is the biggest pitfall that I fell into when I started my career, and not even as a cinematographer, but as a videographer. I thought if I had the best equipment in terms of what I could buy, I would be successful. And this would be in my eyes as well as clients' eyes. If I had a bigger camera on set, everybody would think that the image I create would be more cinematic. The problem I had here was that I had quality equipment, but I didn't have quality work. I didn't have good storytelling. I didn't even have good cinematography at the time. And the more important thing, clients didn't even ask me what camera I was using. A lot of beginners fall into in terms of having the best camera that they can buy at the time. My insecurity with my work made me compensate in buying more gear. When I started focusing on the creative and what the story I was actually trying to tell, this was a turning point for me in terms of not looking at my camera as the most expensive thing, but more as a tool to tell that story. When it comes to the reality of things, clients or where you get work from aren't looking at your camera. They're looking at your creative storytelling and how you can execute their vision. What if you can't afford the latest gear? Will you fall behind? Will clients overlook this? And the truth about this, the client doesn't care about your camera. They care about how you can execute on the project and tell their story. Mistake number 4, know your camera. In a cinematographer's toolbox, the camera is their main line of defense. This is where you create and shape your image. But if you don't understand the fundamentals of how a camera works, then how are you going to create the images that you want? Like I said before, I used to obsess with gear all the time, and I thought a better looking camera would give me a better looking image. But the reality of this, it doesn't matter if it's a high-end cinema camera or a smartphone. They all operate on the same basic principles. There have been many situations where I've chosen the FX3 over bigger cinema cameras like Ari and the Venice. And this is because I knew my camera inside and out and how it was going to perform in each situation. The best thing that you can do is practice with the camera that you have right now. I remember when I started, I was making films with my phone and then eventually upgraded to other cameras in the Sony line. The point is, practice the basics, learn the fundamentals, and this is the backbone of any successful cinematographer. Mistake number 5, shot variety. Variety in your shots and knowing how to use them in each scenario can set your work apart as a cinematographer. I remember when I started, all my shots looked the same and I didn't have any variety in my work. As an example, all my shots look like medium shots because this is something I liked and I didn't like to get out of my comfort zone. When it came to the edit, I had a lot of clips to work with, but not a lot of shot variety. Start shooting your projects from wide all the way to macro, or just implement 3 different shots in your next project. And you'll see that you have a lot of variety in your edit and a lot of things to work with in terms of what story you want to tell. When I started doing this, I was very uncomfortable, and it was very important for me to get out of my comfort zone. I had questions in terms of if I was going to fail in trying to perform or execute different shot variety. The important thing to remember here that everybody started somewhere in their career, and the way you ultimately progress is trial and error. There's been so many shots that I've tried and that have failed, and there's been so many more shots that I've tried and succeeded. So in your next project, try something new. You might surprise yourself. Mistake number 6, taking on too much work. I'm gonna let you into a little secret here. Being busy doesn't mean you're always being productive. And this is something that happens all over the industry. When I started my filmmaking career, I said yes to every project, which is important, but I didn't realize that being busy isn't always the best thing to do for yourself. I was burning myself out and not bringing my best to each project. Once I started picking the jobs that I actually wanted to be on, this is where the quality of my work increased dramatically. I remember in my career, I was doing a lot of work that I wasn't necessarily happy with. I paused, took a step back, and put a lot of thought into a project that I wanted to create for myself. This project was Yasuke Scarborough Forever. This is a project that I had personal passion for. I wanted to tell a story of where I was from, and more specifically do that with a friend. I put a lot more effort in this, and eventually this got me a lot more work down the road than I could imagine. So if you're scared about missing out of work in terms of just focusing on one project specifically, you have to look at the quality of it, not necessarily the quantity. Now, once you start implementing this, you'll start getting hired for work that you actually want to create. Having a bigger picture in mind. One of the most important steps in my career is not focusing necessarily on the technical skills and the nitty-gritty of cinematography, but actually having a bigger goal and intention in mind. Having a bigger picture in mind changes your mindset in terms of having a 1-year, a 3-year, and especially a 5-year plan. This just gives you a roadmap so you're not necessarily wandering around aimlessly in your cinematography career. The turning point in my career when I sat down and asked myself, where do I want to be in 5 years? Do I want to be doing documentaries, fashion films, narratives, or anything in between? I set the goal of becoming a commercial cinematographer. And with that goal in mind, I started taking the steps to become that. Once I had that goal in mind, it was very easy for me to decide if I wanted to do a job or not. Does this line up in terms of who I want to be in 5 years or even 3 years? This mindset I applied to everything in terms of the cameras I wanted to shoot on, the projects I wanted to take on, the crew I wanted to develop, and more importantly, having the mindset of becoming a commercial cinematographer. And when I started doing this, I naturally had doubts. Is setting a big goal too ambitious? Or am I too early in my career to even set a goal this big? Remember, every cinematographer started somewhere, big or small. And it's important to have that goal in mind so you have a roadmap or something to achieve. Did I become a commercial cinematographer overnight? No, because I was realistic with myself. If you set realistic goals and have this bigger picture in mind, you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. If you're enjoying this video and want to learn more about cinematography, we have a free PDF that explains 6 basic lighting tips that you can use in your cinematography career. If you're interested, click on the link below. Anyway, back to the video. Now, these tips were very important in terms of furthering your cinematography career, but if you want to know how you can apply them, I have a video linked here on how I shot a campaign video for Nike. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next